Well, this is so cool. So this is our first filming ever for Under the Influence podcast. I'm so excited to have the sisters of the Cado here and on, and being in their amazing space. I remember when I first even saw you guys on Instagram, it was just this amazing branding. It was green, it was yellow with these like coral colors, and then all of a sudden you guys are like, yeah, we're launching an avocado museum. So tell us about that. Let me first say your names. Ann Buehner and Mary Carr, you guys are sisters, and you guys came up with this amazing idea, and you also have this awesome storytelling branding agency, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
So tell us first, how did you guys even come up with this concept?
Yeah, it's a good question. So it all started 2 years ago. I had moved back here to Encinitas from LA. We're both born and bred in Encinitas, and had been to these other pop-up experiences that were happening, and we both noticed that it was such a trend at that time that was just beginning, and we started talking about it and just noticed, okay, they're really beautiful, great for Instagram, but they're really saturated in these major cities. And there's also more of an opportunity to tell a deeper story than just photo backdrops, and incorporate some learning and education. So that really just started us brainstorming over lunch and kind of talking through, if we were to do something, what could it be?
And you said this was over avocado toast, right?
It was. We happened to be eating avocado toast, which may have influenced our brainstorm, but we're like, if we created something, we knew we wanted it to have layers of a story to tell.
Yeah.
And we quickly landed on avocados because it does have those layers, and it represents San Diego, where we're from.
Such a true representation of San Diego. And you were even telling me that San Diego is like the #1 grower, or the most.
It's the largest growing region in the state.
Insane.
Yeah.
I know, and I was kind of even like, well, what about like all the farming area, like out in El Centro or something like that? And you're like, yeah, it's San Diego, which is very surprising.
Yeah.
So I love that.
It's interesting too. So San Diego has the most small farms of anywhere in the country, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Okay.
most people don't think about San Diego for agriculture, but we're a hot spot.
Okay. Well, I know my dad's obsessed with avocado trees, and I know that a lot of people, like, that's the thing. Like, if you're from San Diego natively and you have a little bit of property, right? Like, I kind of told you guys I grew up in Alpine, so if you have a little bit of property, you kind of want an avocado tree. Like, that's like the goal.
Yeah, it's a must. I'll take
It's like
one.
an amenity. Yeah, right? Okay, so you guys came up with this amazing concept. Let's dive a little bit deeper into it. You guys did all the branding and aesthetic work for the Cado, and you have this agency as well. So, I mean, did you guys go to school for this? How were you able to come up with all of that?
That's a really good question. So we both have different creative backgrounds. My background, I guess, is in storytelling. I have a decade of experience over that in the agency world. I forget how old I am sometimes. But really, I was a creative writing major in college, and so I've always loved thinking about new ways to frame a story and to tell stories. And I got my start first in PR, and then it was around the time when social media started to become a thing, and it was a really fun point because it was really pioneering, like, how do brands use social media? So it was just on the cusp, and it was a lot of like explaining what a Facebook business page was and Twitter and how it could benefit businesses, and seeing it as a whole new platform to tell a story and to connect directly with people and involve people in the telling of the stories. So that grew, and got a lot of great experience telling stories in different ways, and had been fascinated with how we tell a story through experience and actually live one.
Absolutely. And I do want to dive into that, because you guys did leverage social media quite a bit, right, to promote the opening of the Cado, and even to promote, the story and the branding behind it. And again, I mean, that was the first thing that caught my eye when you guys really first started. I can't remember how I found your Instagram, but I found your Instagram, and I remember it was just you teased it so well. by only showing like little parts and textures of the logo or of the actual avocado itself. And then I think even in the bio it said there's something exciting coming to San Diego or something.
Something's ripening soon.
I was gonna say, I'm sure there's an avocado pun somewhere in there, but I can't remember exactly what it is.
We had a lot of fun with figuring out how to tease that and set it up. And we can't take full credit like personally for all the branding. We worked with this amazing designer, Christy from Alternating Current, who's out of LA, and she was one of our first calls when we had this concept of like, we need to team up with someone to help us get the right logo, the right colors, because we knew what we wanted at a very high level, and she helped us both get on the same page and develop something that was just right.
So what was the first step? You guys are sitting there having avocado toast, and you're like, we want to open a museum and this amazing pop-up that actually tells the story, a very fitting story for San Diego. What was the first thing you did? I know you talked about branding, but how did you, where do you even start that? How do you start that?
It honestly started with brainstorming what that experience was going to be and walking through, okay, what are the key takeaways we want people to have? What is that core message? And then how does that work in an actual experience? So literally after the idea over lunch, we went home and you ditched work.
I said I need to go work from home the rest of the day.
It was just in our brains. We needed to get it out, and just within 48 hours, we stayed up late into the evenings, kind of planning out what that experience was going to be, and then listing out what kind of partners we needed to bring on board.
And speaking of partners, there's a very special partner that it actually recorded the whole entire walkthrough, right? So we have all these amazing cassette tapes and, I mean, the Walkman, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I almost called it the wrong thing, and I was like, we were just laughing about this. It's great.
Yes.
So you actually had someone very special record the storytelling and all the fun facts.
Yeah, so we were able to partner with Jason Mraz to...
mic drop.
Songwriter, avocado grower locally.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
In San Diego?
In San Diego.
Stop it.
He is a huge supporter of agriculture and arts in San Diego, obviously, as well as being a singer. So he was really the only person we knew we wanted to be the voice.
Yeah, and when people come to the Cado, they get the Walkman, they come up to this wall behind us actually, take a cassette tape out of the wall, they pop it in, put the headphones on, and they get to hear Jason Mraz really school them on how avocados grow from tree to toast in California.
From tree to toast.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's only the first portion of the event is the audio guide, because we really played around actually with, do we do it throughout the whole thing or is it just part of it? And we came to the conclusion that we wanted people to also be able to connect with each other.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, there's a part, headphones off. Now we have to interact with what's around us and with people.
So tell us a little bit about the whole flow. So you guys said that you wanted to share the storytelling aspect, but it also needed to have an Instagrammable moment and people needed to kind of be able to interact with it. So tell us about the exhibits within here.
Sure. So it really starts at the door.
Okay.
People...
It does. There's even a little avocado stamped outside. It's pretty cute.
Yeah, a little avocado on the sidewalk, and we have a sign out there that says, your journey starts here. And we just kind of give an overview to explain what to expect. They come into this first room and kind of explore around, take photos. We have, a pink wall, which no one can resist. And yeah, from there it starts with that cassette and Jason explaining the growing process. And starting with the growing process was really important to us to honor the farmers and the growers. And then from there, they're actually transported as a little surprise element into the next room.
I'm excited to, you guys put me on suspense here. They didn't let me do the tour. I'm sitting here and they're talking about all this fun stuff and I've only seen Instagram, so I'm like jumping to see what's behind these walls. So then they transport you to the next thing and continue.
The next room is called our ripe room. So
the ripe room.
Yes. You start on the outside of the avocado against the skin, and along the wall, your goal is to feel find what feels like a ripe avocado. So you press against the wall.
No.
And each part has a different density level to represent stages of ripeness. So we have everybody feel and guess which part they think is what a ripe avocado feels like.
Oh, that is like the true testament to being like a San Diego person or being in the San Diego community, right? That's like everyone goes through that. How do you guys tell? How do you tell when it's ripe? Is there a secret? Is there a tip?
I mean, they really just say it should be a gentle give.
So when you hold it and just like barely
in your palm,
press against it, it should
just a nice gentle
give. Yes, not too squishy, not too hard.
Well, okay, I know the brown bag trick, but I think that
that'll
also
speed it up.
That speeds it up, right? Because it's like all the
ripening agents, if you will.
It kind of keeps it contained.
I was gonna say chemicals. I'm like, I'm not sure if that's the right word, but yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's amazing. So you have this full ripe room, and then where do we go?
Yes, and then once everyone's placed their bets, there's also a prize involved for whoever gets it right.
Oh my gosh.
And then we enter the inside of the avocado. So we go from the outside in, and we have there probably our most epic visual installation called the Ombre Enclave, where you walk around and we bring to life that gorgeous ombre color gradient of the fruit.
I feel like I have seen that one, and that one is pretty Instagrammable, and it's gorgeous. And I've even seen a couple different bloggers that have come in that really, really do some cool shots with it.
Yes. Yeah. So that's definitely our shot where everybody stops and takes a photo.
That's the moment. Huh?
That's the moment. We do talk before they enter. We brief them on what they're about to get into and the nutrition portion of avocados.
Because the Ombre Enclave was actually inspired by our favorite nutrition fact. The most nutrient-dense part of the avocado is the darkest green, right underneath the peel.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's why we wanted to celebrate that color gradient.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not all the good kind of yellowy, super soft part. It's actually right along the peel.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then we have across from there our pit stop. So we go all the way to the center of the fruit.
These names are killing me. Right? It's so great. Yes, I love it.
That acts as a little lounge area, and the installation itself is like a dome shape, and it's covered with material that's dyed with dye extracted from avocado pits.
Wow.
Yeah.
So literally everything inside of here is intentionally built or created to really share the story of the avocado.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah, I think that is something that, because we planned it all out right away, and it came from this place of wanting to bring people through a journey of the avocado, that led to a lot of intentionality.
That is so amazing.
And then just to finish up quickly.
I said, I'm over here I want to go. Let's finish this interview. I'm ready.
I know. So once you journey through the fruit in that way, then the second portion is much more of a traditional museum section. So Hass Hall is the next room, where it really tells the story of the Mother Hass tree and how Hass avocados all came to be.
And can you give us a little drop of knowledge?
Well, you want to?
Sure. I'm like, which drop? I don't know.
There's so many.
I mean, in terms of the Hass family, it's actually pretty fascinating. This guy, Rudolph Hass is his name. He and his wife, Elizabeth, drove a Model T Ford back in 1923 from Milwaukee all the way to Los Angeles because they had heard about this avocado crop and just wanted to try their hand at growing.
Wow. And
he was the one that discovered the Hass avocado that we now know today and we love today.
That is, and the Hass avocado is a little bit bigger, isn't it? Isn't it a little bit bigger, or no? Is that a misconception?
The size isn't as much of a differentiator. Okay. Really, the difference is it has a higher oil content, so that makes it creamier.
Okay.
Some of the other avocados can get a little bit watery.
Okay.
And it also has a tougher, thicker skin, which makes it better to distribute to the masses. And that's what really brought it to the general market.
So did he bring it back to Milwaukee?
No, he stayed in La Habra Heights, actually.
Oh, he stayed here. Okay.
Yeah, he did. And 90-something% of the avocados that we grow and eat in California are Hass. So most people, like if they picture an avocado, it'll be a Hass avocado typically if you're buying them from the grocery store.
I mean, I think that you have like now, like we see like 4 different versions of avocados, and I think I just go after the really big ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping those are the Hass avocados. I'm gonna have to do a little research now when I walk into the grocery store next time. But that's so interesting. I didn't know that they literally drove all the way out here.
Yeah.
And just started farming.
Yeah.
That's insane. So tell me a little bit, you guys, about where this passion came from. I mean, I know you kind of came up with this idea and you really had a love for it, but what was the passion that kept you guys going? I mean, this must have taken some time and really, needed to be developed. So where does all that come from?
I think a lot of different areas. As Anne mentioned before, we both come from creative backgrounds, and just storytelling in general is a huge passion of ours. Yeah. And something like the Cado, where we both saw the vision so clearly, that's really what drove us and kept us going. And apart from that, I think just being in it together, honestly, we have really complementary strengths. So our bad days are completely different. And because of that, we were able to kind of persevere through the ups and the downs, and just remind each other why we're here and why we're telling this story, and that there are even more stories we want to tell in the future.
Yeah, so I want to kind of touch on that a little bit. Well, so you guys are closing in September, something that we did want to kind of touch on. So if you guys haven't been, you need to come here right now, because again, I'm so excited. I can't wait to go on the tour. But is there going to be another pop-up? Is it going to be a permanent home? Is there something in the works that you're allowed to share?
I wish we could just peel back the curtain entirely and divulge, but we're not ready to yet.
Okay.
We are in like a pivotal point of discussions and decisions on a number of possibilities. So stay tuned. There will be news.
Stay tuned. I'm so excited. I think it's so perfect, and I love what you guys are doing. So I wanted to get down to the business side of this. Yeah. So you guys are both entrepreneurs. I talked about you guys have your own agency and obviously the Cado. So tell me, what was your biggest struggle starting this business and a museum business, which I feel like, I think the only museum business that I've really seen besides you guys was like maybe the ice cream museum that was like here and gone within 5 seconds in LA. So tell us, what was the biggest struggle that you guys encountered as entrepreneurs?
That's a really good question, because we had a lot of challenges.
Okay.
And I think that's common for entrepreneurs, but when you're in it, it feels like
it's the end of the world.
You're in it.
Yeah. Everything's lit on fire, and again, it's fine.
Totally. We've talked about this a lot, and kind of like reflecting on our journey, because this is 2 years in the making. So it didn't happen overnight for us. We started very quickly and worked quickly. We got things together. We formed our business.
We were very bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
We were.
Which is,
and you need that.
You need that. Even as someone that's looking to start their own business or launch their own brand, that's such a good, that shows your ambition, right? It shows that you're ready for it.
If you don't have that, you're never going to be sustained through everything.
You need a positive outlook, because you're right, business is hard. I was actually just talking to a friend about it today, and I was like, if you don't have a positive outlook, if you're not used to, what do they call it, that resiliency?
Yes.
Yep. The ability to just kind of take hits and flow with whatever comes your way, it's not your gig.
It's going to be a hard road for you. I would say one of the first challenges that we encountered, so when it comes to the business side and the branding and the marketing, we were fairly competent in that, but our original plan, we decided to just go for the dream project rather than thinking about like a beta version or something. We said, what is the best possible thing we can create, and set out to do that right away, which is wonderful, and why wouldn't you want to do that?
100%.
But our original plan was to build a structure out of shipping containers, 16 shipping containers, to create like a 6,700 square foot structure that would be mobile.
So it was going to be the largest mobile structure to ever be created.
Oh my gosh.
And
out of shipping containers.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, that is very ambitious.
Yeah.
I love it.
And honestly, it was really exciting. So we assembled the right team of experts and really started down that path. I think one of the challenges, neither of us have experience in construction. And so it presented a whole different language, a whole different type of people to work with, different kinds of contracts than we were used to dealing with. And just behind the scenes of all of that was one of our biggest challenges and biggest learnings, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But then you came to this space.
Yes. So as we got into it, we realized, okay, this probably isn't feasible for where we are right now, just in terms of timeline, in terms of budget. The scope really grew as we got into it. And so we had to make a tough call of like, okay, this may not be feasible for us right now, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, we really, at that point, to be completely transparent, we had already started selling tickets. And we were really down that path. So we had a lot of decisions to make of, first of all, okay, what's our communication with, attendees that have already gotten excited and put their money toward this? What's our communication to all our sponsors and partners and just other contractors. There were a lot of decisions and people that were going to be affected. So we, took a step back. It really grew our ability to communicate with each other and work through each of those decisions one by one. And ultimately, we were able to come up with a plan that we both felt really good about. And we were able to just refund everybody's tickets even before sending out that communication.
That's got to be a very hard thing for both of you to go through. And also, you guys have put so much work into something to kind of tell your audience, hey, look, we do need to take a step back, or it's not ripe enough yet.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's probably a crazy struggle, right? And then you guys had such a vision, and it's clearly come to life in such a beautiful way that it was needed.
Yes, and ultimately we are really, really grateful for that experience because it humbled us in a way that we really needed to be humbled, honestly. And I think going into this version, we were even more grateful for it. And it was sobering and it was rewarding, and we ultimately had clearer heads, I think, going into it.
And to add on to that in terms of learning, right, I think every challenge we face is also a learning opportunity, which sounds so cheesy, but it was refining in that way where it's like, oh, next time we'll do it very differently. But one thing that I'm proud of the way that we handled and I think worked very well for us was transparency. So as things were happening, making the decision to be transparent about it, both with our audience to the extent that it was appropriate, and then with our partners too, of just saying like, here's where we're at. We want to include you in the journey. And so keeping people involved and working together towards like that final project, which was just a little longer of a timeline and looks a little different than originally planned.
And I think that's like, for those of everyone that's listening and watching right now, that's such a major, major, major takeaway in business. I think that, especially as young entrepreneurs or people just starting out, there's this perception where you have this brand, it's your baby, everything's, you need everything to be perfect. And, I love that you guys were transparent with your community and with the audience. And I think that shows a lot about the true character, not only of you too, but also the Cado and the brand itself, right? And I think that actually speaks more volume than anything else, besides putting something up perfect and besides rushing through it, or it's not being perfect, and then people don't have this amazing experience or relationship that I'm sure that they've cultivated with you too. So I love that. I think that's amazing.
Thanks.
Absolutely. So I want to talk social media and of course this amazing influencer trend that all these businesses are experiencing. Tell us how, why did you guys take to social media to blow this up? I mean, what was the kind of thinking behind that? Obviously, we see this as a huge trend with businesses right now, but why did you guys decide to take that path?
honestly, it kind of felt, we didn't really consider much else.
Yeah.
It just felt like the right path and the right time. And with Anne's experience and background also, being in social and overseeing content at an agency, it was really where we felt comfortable.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think to add on to that, one, it is pretty cost effective to reach a wider audience, and two, the trend of these pop-ups is incredibly visual, and it's popular on Instagram, and that's where people are discovering them and finding them and able to fall in love with a brand before we even had an event.
Well, and I think, you know, kind of going off that, that's such a new way of marketing, right? You know, I went to school for business and communications, and somewhere in the middle of that there was marketing. But, you know, we had always been taught that the marketing was this black and white thing. It was hard, cold numbers. It was a hard ROI. It was putting money in and getting more out.
Yeah.
And nowadays, you're actually seeing people move a bigger needle by having this experience with a brand, by being able to, you know, curate their own content and share it with their audience. And you're right, it is extremely cost effective, but it's almost like it's more valuable.
It is, definitely. I think it can be.
Yes,
You know?
it can be. If done right.
Yeah, if you do it the
Absolutely.
right way. Sometimes it feels like uncomfortable, but people can sniff out now, like,
Yeah, so tell me about that. You mean, you guys clearly have had influencers come in here and curate content. What do you think about this whole influencer trend?
that's such an interesting question.
Listen, people have said they've hated it. They
Right?
loved it on the show. We're all open ears
And
here.
I don't know if I love it or hate it because it just is, you know?
Yeah.
And I think I really appreciate that there's an opportunity for people to have a platform,
I
to have
love
a
that.
vision, to have a voice, to express their artistry, to
Totally.
stand for something, whether it's a cause or just their love of certain products or ways of
Yeah.
doing something. I think that's really amazing. I also think that, like, when you give yourself the title influencer, it needs to come with great responsibility because that's a big word. It's intimidating.
I love that you just said that. Amen. Yes. Yeah.
And it's really a big choice. It's choosing almost a career path.
Oh, 100%.
The amount of time, the amount of effort, the amount of strategy that goes into something like that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm in awe of people who are influencers.
Right?
Like how they get up every day and they have to create content, just like crank that out 24/7, and they have to look at their life through two different lenses, like one, just their own personal connection to the people around them, and then the other side of it is like how they're connecting with their audience. So
It really is, you know, and I think too, you guys understand it because you have them coming in and you're watching them, and obviously you've had a couple come in and experience the Cado.
Yeah.
I understand it because we work with them, and I think there is such a huge, disconnect of what exactly they're having to put forth and the time and energy, and not necessarily that this is something that maybe, I'm sure it takes some of them 15, 20-hour days, but it's the mental capacity.
Yes.
It's the constantly being
Yes.
on, constantly being put forth to be creative, and then being evaluated off it, which is very interesting. So I completely agree, and I love that you guys too kind of created something where people that aren't just influencers can come and share on their own platform.
it's been fun. I think, side note, I also think like influencer is a scalable word because everyone
Very.
has influence over something. So what has been one of the biggest wonderful surprises is the variety of age groups that have come in and love the Cado.
I love that. So is there like one consumer persona here, or are we a little general? Tell me
Okay.
about it.
We've tried multiple times to find patterns, but it's pretty well distributed.
Well,
We've-
everyone loves avocados.
Yeah, we thought from the start, like, this is probably just like millennials are target. Those are the people who would appreciate it.
Right.
We'll pull them in with Instagram, but then we'll make them learn something when they leave. So it can't be a vapid experience.
We'll make
Not
them
that
learn
it
how to
would,
use a
but-
Walkman in an appropriate way.
Exactly.
Yes.
You must appreciate your avocados before you eat them next time.
Yes.
But yes, millennials have enjoyed it, but like all ages, like grandparents have come in and have been so sweet, and they've heard about it from their friends on Facebook.
Stop it.
Yes.
Stop.
Yeah. So grandparents are influencers too.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Get it on that Facebook community though.
Yes.
Seriously.
Yeah. But it's been fun because I think, different ages appreciate different aspects of the Cado. So for example, somebody that I'm putting in the grandparent category, they really, really appreciate the education side of it. And they are fascinated by the Instagram side of it. Like some understand it, some don't, but they're really fascinated because they learn so much. And then we have other people who come in that their eyes start to glaze over a little bit during the educational parts, but they're just like ready to get their shot. So it really spans the gamut.
Wow. And I think that maybe, that you guys did. You hit it on both parts, right? On the educational aspect, on the creative aspect. I feel like I keep turning this way because I'm so eager.
Like, let's pass here.
I'm like ready. I'm ready to go. I don't even know if I'm turned toward the camera.
Right. We told Whitney at the beginning, we're like, we're going to leave you in suspense just like your audience.
We're like, okay. So let's talk about social media. Where do you guys see this going? I mean, now we are fully in this digital age and digital space. It's information overload. We're seeing businesses literally be cropped on Instagram, on Facebook, on Pinterest. Where do you guys see all this going?
Well, there's definitely a shift toward more authentic content.
Absolutely.
Especially with the rise of Instagram stories. I think businesses are really taking advantage of that in a really good way. And especially Gen Z is very good at sniffing out what's inauthentic.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's kind of the buzzword going around and something that I'm excited to see happen.
Absolutely.
And along with the authenticity, I see people becoming more aware of the amount of social media use that, like how much time they're spending.
Our little iPhone timers,
and now
right?
we can set timers, and I think like as technology progresses, there's going to be ways to optimize what is good for you personally and start to really like gauge and personalize your type of social media use so it's healthiest and best for your self-care.
It really is, and it's such an interesting time too. I was laughing because we were talking about my facial sunburn from my UV light, and it's one of those things too where we're actually seeing a lot of mental health issues arise, and there's a lot more awareness and education around it, and it's kind of like this double-edged sword where it's like there's all this kind of negativity, but there's also all this positivity that's rising with it, right? There's a lot more awareness, a lot more education. People are actually able to connect with people, in a whole different light and reach new communities and audiences easier than ever. So it's a very interesting time right now, and it's very cool. I'm kind of with you on it. I get questions all day, like all the time, where people are like, "Our Instagram, is it gonna just like shut down one day? Is it gonna be like the apocalypse? Like, is it just not gonna happen?" And it's going to be very interesting to see what the next steps are.
If it's not Instagram, there'll be something else.
Yeah.
I know, right? We're going through, again, I feel like I always say this on the podcast, and our poor listeners hear me talk about it all the time, but there's like another change, another security update, and it's just been, it's been overwhelming. And, we run all these client accounts. We run brands, and now we're even starting to help these personal brands really rise, and elevate their own business. And it is so hard being kind of manhandled or, just kind of having to play into something that you can't control. And so the digital space is, it's just kind of the wild, wild west right now. It's a little all over the place.
Yeah, and I think like to set yourself up for the best possible chance at it is like, it's important to start with knowing who you are, whether it's like your personal brand or a brand, and starting from there, right?
Yeah.
So as you're creating content, it flows out naturally because you already have a strong sense of identity. And so as new technologies develop, then you're able to evolve with that, and that's just the learning apart versus
You
getting too
gave
stressed
such a
out.
good piece. That was such a good tip. And what's funny is I heard someone talk about this recently, and they said the best way to start a personal brand is literally from you, because at the end of the day, you're never going to run out of anything.
Yes.
Because it stems from you.
Exactly.
That was beautifully said. Awesome. So let's dive into some rapid fire. I love doing this at the very end because now you're warmed up to me and we've had all this fun time together. So we're going to start with your guys' favorite cocktail or mocktail.
I mean, depends on the time of year, but I can always go for a gin and tonic.
Oh, yeah. What's your favorite kind of gin?
I love Sunday gin.
Oh my gosh, from you and yours?
Yes.
Yes,
It's
girl.
amazing. Shout out to you and yours.
They're the greatest.
Yes.
They're awesome.
I always love trying a new cocktail, so I don't really
Okay.
have a go-to.
Oh, you're just like out there. You just try anything. You're
If it
adventurous.
sounds good, yeah.
Okay.
Something in like the vodka gin,
Realm?
maybe tequila category if
tequila.
I'm feeling adventurous.
Anne makes a mean watermelon margarita.
Oh, you tell me. Give me the rest
pool
of it.
party at my house.
Okay.
It goes really well on a floaty in the pool. But fresh watermelon, throw in a little bit of coconut milk.
Coconut milk, not coconut water.
Correct. A
Wow.
little coconut milk, so it adds a creamy factor.
Okay.
With a ton of fresh watermelon, tequila, and lime juice. Blend it all up, and it's to die for.
Oh my gosh, do you ever put like tahini around the rim? Because that's my go-to for any margarita. I gotta have the tahini.
No, but we need to.
Let's do it. Pool
the
party your
perfect
house.
addition.
Let's
I
do
love
it.
it.
Perfect. Great. Okay, what about your favorite Instagram to stalk?
I am obsessed with Ann Street Studio, Jamie Beck's Instagram. She is a photographer living in Provence in France and just makes the dreamiest portraits.
Oh my
They look like
gosh.
paintings. It's
Really?
so inspiring. She tells her story really, really well. So I love her.
that.
Yeah.
I'm going to be annoying, but I don't have a favorite Instagram to stalk. I'm such a browser where
It's the Cado.
I love to go down a rabbit trail. I love a good rabbit trail.
Oh man, you can get lost. I even
Yes.
find myself now. I'm doing the explore page.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, pretty soon I'm scrolling and it's just all like recipes of like French fries and like cheese and bread.
It's starting
I'm
to
like-
know you better.
I'm like, okay, wait a minute. We started from like kind of some bloggers,
Yeah.
kind of some like puppy photos to now just straight fat kid food.
You know, recently I have been enjoying stalking a little bit Sophie Jaffe. Are you familiar with her?
Okay, that name sounds familiar,
So
but
she's an influencer in like the wellness space, I would say. She's been around a while.
okay.
And she just moved and has this cute little family, and she has a podcast with her husband, and they talk about relationships.
so cute.
Yeah.
They talk about relationships.
They do, and they're super like transparent about their relationship and struggles that they've had. So I appreciate
how does that work? Like, do they talk about like things that they've thought about and things like that? Wow,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
And they're that transparent,
Yeah.
huh? I love that. I mean, I feel like that's so cool. I'm a huge fan of the Him and Her podcast with Michael Bosstick and Lauren Everett.
Yeah.
Well, now she's Lauren Everett Bosstick. And they're kind of like that. They get very. Like they'll talk about like I've heard them kind of talk about like their sex life and their
Yes,
relationship and how they're
totally.
in business together and how there's even times where like they're like, no, like we need to separate, like we do too much together, or no, we need to go away together because we've been working in too much in this like partner mode.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting. I'm gonna have to give that a listen.
Yes.
Cool. What about your favorite reality TV show? If you guys watch reality TV, yeah,
Definitely.
She goes, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a handful of shows.
I mean, I'm a big Bachelor fan.
You are. You're
I'm a-
Batch Nation, huh?
I am. I'm not going to deny it anymore. I just am. I listen to Here to Make Friends, the podcast as well. It's two feminists talking about all things Bachelor.
Love it.
Also love, what is it? Dating No Filter.
Yes.
Little
I
bit.
love
It's
it.
so funny. It's pretty mindless.
It's comedians analyzing these people's like first date setups.
They set them up
Yes.
on a blind
Yes.
date, and then they like do commentary through the whole thing.
Oh my gosh. And this is called Dating Unfiltered?
Dating no filter.
Dating No Filter.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Highly
yeah.
recommend.
Yeah, it's going to be on when I drive home after this. I love it. Perfect.
I like the voice.
I love that. You said that like you're like, I don't know.
It's not like very exciting and dramatic, but
You also love So You Think You Can Dance.
I love like getting to know all the people on the shows, and I feel like I know them by the end.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I get upset with America when they get it wrong.
Right?
Although I never vote for them, so I have no
Oh
right.
my gosh, I
but-
feel like me and you are the same human. I love it. Yeah, I discovered this show called The Masked Singer.
Yes.
You know it?
I do.
I love it. And it's so hard because these people literally dress up head to toe
Yes.
in costumes. And like you think you know who the celebrity is, and it's so wrong.
Yes.
It's always so wrong. And I really do get invested in it. Like almost to a scary point. Like I try The Bachelor, I really do. And I always start off with like my first 5 like episodes, and I'm there and I'm here for it. And then we kind of drop off. And
That's exactly how I am.
yeah, I read the same
I think
human.
we need
Probably, probably. Full parties will be great.
Yeah.
The Masked Singer.
Also, what's that? Oh, Songland, where they write songs.
Oh yeah, I like
Okay,
that one.
is that the one with Isn't there a country sing? Yeah, Kelsey Ballerini. Was she
people
on it?
wrote
been on
songs
it.
for her.
Oh, so
Yes.
they write songs. Okay, so I haven't seen it clearly,
Yes,
but
and
so
then
they write
she
songs for the
picks
singer.
like 3 songs that she thinks she'd want to record. They get another round, and they partner with famous producers who help them like produce the song. And so
Oh
she
my
picks one at the end to be on her
gosh.
album.
Wow.
And doesn't it change the singer? Like sometimes it's Kelsey, sometimes it's someone else.
Each week's a different
Yeah.
singer.
That is so cool. Okay, I'm gonna have to watch that one too. Okay, what about somebody that's like your favorite business owner or almost like a business idol to you guys?
Mine is a little bit cliche, but it's Oprah. So
I love it.
I love the empire that she's
Yeah.
built, and she's still like very likable and personable and intentional, and
Very
tries to do
intentional.
a lot of good with her influence that she
I
has.
love that. You know, it's funny. That's the first time I've ever gotten that answer on this. Yeah, we're almost 50 episodes deep. No one said Oprah.
So I'm not cliche.
No, you're not cliche at all.
Hooray.
Nice. I'll be cliche for us, or I'll try. Actually, I love Jamila Jamil.
Okay. Yes.
From The Good Place. I think she's done amazing things with her platform and launching her nonprofit called iWay Foundation,
Okay.
which talks about body positivity and mental wellness and just helping people own who they are.
Yeah.
She also is just really bold about the way she talks about her beliefs, and then also apologizes when she feels like she's gone too far sometimes. So I just appreciate her voice.
Wow, I love that. Those were both really, really great answers. Okay, and first off, thank you so much for letting us come into the space and just kind of take over and have this amazing filmed podcast. Like I said, this is like the first one, so it's super special to
We
me.
feel privileged that it's here.
Well, I was like really excited. Like I said, I still am ready for my tour. Like I've been wanting to go here for a very long time. Okay,
You have.
Yeah, I have. So this is really special to me. But you guys are so amazing, and what you've created is honestly such an inspiration. And I really can't wait to see what's next with you guys. So we're gonna end on this last question. I usually always end on it. But what does influence mean to you?
Do you want to go?
To me, influence means, well, it means you have an audience and a platform, but it also means responsibility.
I love
think.
that. Can you unpack that responsibility
Yes.
aspect? Because I feel like, yeah, I want you to just unpack it.
Yeah,
I'm ready for it.
I think with this level of influence, and especially if you are a self-proclaimed influencer, it comes with a responsibility of looking at how you're communicating the messages that you're sending to your audience, because you have a choice, and you're shaping culture and you're shaping perspectives.
Yeah.
And so you get to choose how deep you want to go into that, the sort of topics that you cover. But I think it has to be so much more than your life as a pretty picture.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
it just comes with a responsibility of knowing what people on the other end are thinking. And the more that you're creating content, just like every other influencer, the more that becomes the norm and the standard. And is that what we want to be?
Absolutely. I love that. And I love that you've talked about the responsibility, and you both have kind of mentioned that throughout the podcast, because it is, right? You know, you are impacting people's lives.
Yeah.
And especially with what we talked about, the awareness and the educational aspect of what social media is and the positive ways that you can impact these people. Be responsible, be aware, and, you know, do it in a sense of good. I love that.
Yeah, I think for me, and it kind of goes with this sense of responsibility, is ownership.
Yeah.
So being able to identify, okay, what is my story? How do I own that? But also own when maybe you've made a mistake or gone down a path you didn't intend. And I think that's something that people respond to even more sometimes than just showing the perfect picture.
Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
I was just thinking, we were talking earlier about this idea of influence, and I think there can be a lot of pressure once you have formed your story, your personal brand or a brand for a company or anything, and this pressure to be consistent and to never pivot and to never change because that's what people expect of you. But I think my hope is that people feel more of a freedom to be able to evolve and that's okay. So that's part of being an influencer and having influence, is knowing that like you get to evolve and change.
That's amazing, and I love it. And I loved you both, Anne and Mary. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm so excited for my tour. I'm so excited to be here, and thank you for sharing everything that is, you know, your stories and how you got to really arrive at the Cado and this amazing project. Yeah. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm sad we didn't get to hear your story in the midst of this.
Oh, well, at the pool party. It'll be great.
Some watermelon marks.
It'll be great. Oh my gosh, you won't get me to shut up. That's maybe not so great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
vers les ciels de Méditerranée. Échappant